Alright, this is the last leg of our 3-part Alien crossover video series. If this is the first one you're watching, you're going to want to go check out part 1 and 2 for context. And they're pretty good. Also, alright, that's enough of that. Starting with part 3, here we go. Green Lantern vs. Aliens, 2001, by Ron Mars and Rick Leonardi. Green Lanterns are the space cops of the DC Universe, and are more science fiction in concept than Superman despite his extraterrestrial status. A crossover with aliens is not outside the realm of possibility. The only thing is, the Green Lantern Corps are really powerful, so if you don't make the plot any more complicated than physical conflict, it's going to be just a matter of, how do we get the ring off? This book mostly avoids that boring scenario by having the story star Green Lantern Kyle Rayner rather than Hal Jordan. The first issue is devoted to a flashback. We see Hal Jordan, Kilowog, and the crew discover xenomorphs for the first time, but rather than destroy them, Hal convinces his group that they're no different than sharks. Which I get what he's saying, but sharks? Sharks don't slaughter large groups of people in a coordinated effort or implant little shark babies in your chest cavity. So we're treated to this ridiculous image of the Corps carrying the entire hive to an uninhabited planet where they can live in peace. But of course, yeah, right, that's not gonna happen. We flash forward past a lot of DC continuity in which Hal Jordan went nuts and destroyed the Green Lantern Corps. No big deal, nothing to see here. The next issue introduces Kyle Rayner, the current and only Green Lantern at the time. He's visited by prior members of the Green Lantern Corps. It turns out a ship has crash landed on the planet where they left the xenomorphs, and they need to clean up their mess, even if none of them have their power rings anymore. So that took some setup, but now we have something more interesting. One single Green Lantern and a bunch of ex-Green Lanterns. This juxtaposition between the two different time periods and two different lanterns also sets up an interesting thematic storyline. Basically, the question as to whether the no-kill policy is more irresponsible in some cases than noble. It was interesting to see Rayner wrestle with this as things get more and more out of control and learn that sometimes being a hero means sacrificing your values for the greater good. I really like this book. Green Lantern fans should give it a look, but I think there's also enough alien stuff here to bring those fans to the party as well. It's well drawn by Rick Leonardi, who would eventually draw 3 World War, and the script is paced well, with humor where it's appropriate and horror where it's appropriate. Lastly, real quick before we move on, it's Green Lantern Corps, not Corpse. This is Green Lantern Corpse. This is a Green Lantern Corps. Corpse, Corps, Corps, Corpse. Sorry, this needs to be said. Judge Dredd vs. Aliens, 2002, by John Wagner, Andy Diggle, and Henry Flint. The Alien series has a lot of British blood in its veins, between Ridley Scott, Ian Holm, John Hurt, basically the whole cast of Alien 3, and the fact that all of the main films were shot at Pinewood Studios in London. It was only a matter of time before 2000 AD's overzealous law enforcer crossed over with the aliens, and thankfully the results were mostly positive. In this crossover, a disgruntled criminal obtains xenomorphs through the black market and uses them to wage war on all the judges. The story is fine. It's not Shakespeare, so what makes this series work? To start with, the artwork by Henry Flint is fantastic. He's one of those guys that's great at conveying texture, so it's good that this story is filled with blood, guts, scars, burns, slime, and scales. It also helps that the book has a good deal of humor. I think the tone and feel of this crossover becomes completely clear 6 pages in with these 2 panels. Violent, funny, and a little absurd. Now that's what I'm looking for in a Dredd book. How much mayhem can xenomorphs cause in Mega City 1? It feels like the creative team relished the opportunity to answer that question, especially when it comes to the acid blood. Many of the Aliens crossovers seem to avoid how volatile that aspect of their biology is, but this series embraces it completely, delivering some of the most gleefully destructive imagery rivaling the films themselves. At one point, a xenomorph falls from hundreds of stories to the streets below, and when it hits, well, it creates a sinkhole from hell. This is definitely the stronger Dredd crossover of the two, and the one I think makes a better case for further exploration of the Judge Dredd series. Now, where can I find more Henry Flint artwork? Superman vs. Aliens 2, Godhead. This is from 2002, it's by Chuck Dixon and John Bogdanove. Darkseid uses xenomorphs to attack New Genesis and Superman. Aliens barely figure into the story at all, and it doesn't rate very high as a Superman story. There's some novelty in mixing xenomorphs up with Jack Kirby's New Gods mythos, but it's little more than novelty, and there are 10 other New Gods stories I would recommend before this one. So maybe if you're a New Gods completist, but other than that, I don't see the point. Moving on. Batman vs. Aliens 2, 2003. Ian Eddington and Staz Johnson. The Batman vs. Aliens concept was already laborious the first time around, and this series continues to prove that it's a bad idea by feeling like it needs to do silly shit, like make xenomorph hybrids out of Batman's rogues gallery. Doing a Grant Morrison-style Arkham Asylum horror book about Batman trapped in Arkham with an alien infestation has potential, but this isn't that. Literally, there is a Joker xenomorph that speaks into a headset to a shady government agent. Silly, sad, lame. Superman and Batman vs. Aliens and Predator, 2007, by Mark Schultz and Ariel Olivetti. It's funny. There's a review for the book on AVP Galaxy, and it has the lowest score possible, and the reviewer ends his write-up with the following. If you're a Superman-Batman fan, great for you, you'll want to read this. AVP fans, stay away from this one and read the older publications. I can't really say it any better than that. For as ridiculous as the title implies this book might be, it's a fun world's finest story with some nice moments for Batman and Superman fans. The creators have a good handle on Superman and Batman and their chemistry together. However, if you've come for some awesome Predator or Aliens comic, you will be sorely disappointed. In fact, the book's plot is designed around both creatures being pretty much toothless. Don't believe me? This is a book about how Batman and Superman discover a long-lost group of predators and xenomorphs in a volcano getting ready to blow, and they decide to save them. It's a rescue mission. The mission is to rescue the monsters. These fucking guys. Way to normalize two of the most violent and terrifying monsters in fiction. If you can get over how the aliens and predators are used, you can appreciate that this is a light, breezy story in which the world's finest must work together to save two species who, as Superman puts it, have the worst manners. Aliens Vampirella, 2015, Corina Becco and Javier Garcia Miranda. When you think of Vampirella, there's a good chance the first thing that comes to mind is this outfit. Now, I've got nothing against sexy artwork. It's a thing. There are definitely artists that deserve respect for doing it better than others. Vampirella artist Jose Gonzalez is one of those dudes. However, whoever decided that an Aliens Vampirella crossover already sounds a little ridiculous would then look really ridiculous if she was wearing this is a smart person. For 99% of the book, she looks like this. And a crossover that doesn't sound like it has any right to be good not only proves it's not just a cheesecake TNA fest, not only ends up being one of the better crossovers, but also made me more interested in a character I might have gone my whole life without ever checking out. Vampirella actually makes more sense in this book than you might think, because, surprise, she's a space vampire. Vampirella originates from a planet called Draculon, a vampire planet where blood is a natural resource. She gets to Earth by hitching a ride on a human spaceship and becomes a protector of humanity. Hey, it was the 60s. This story takes place in the future, and humanity has begun to colonize Mars. However, not only have they discovered signs of an ancient civilization, but that civilization seems to be vampire in nature. So the immortal Vampirella is called in as a special consultant. When her and some other scientists find ancient vampire bodies with burst chest cavities and big leathery eggs, well, that's where our crossover comes in. This series is a great example of what I mean when I say crossovers don't have to be silly. I was impressed with this series' ability to extrapolate bizarre concepts without ever devolving into self-awareness. The first couple of pages are a good example. The xenomorph has some poor bastard cornered, but he's a vampire with big sharp teeth, so he fights back the way a vampire knows how, going for the jugular. And it goes about as well as you'd expect. This series continues this way, exploring the what if vampires and aliens questions, and also feeling like a proper alien science fiction book since it takes place on a futuristic Mars colony. I was mostly struck by how much I liked Vampirella. Writer Corina Becco and artist Javier Garcia Miranda imbue her with a charm, sense of leadership, and easygoingness that comes with being immortal. There's a scene in which Vampirella has had her chest cavity ripped open by a baby Xeno, and she needs blood in order to heal faster. There's only one person left alive with her, and she could have easily just grabbed him and taken what she needs. But instead, she spends 2 pages convincing him why it needs to be done and assuring him that it won't hurt. That's the kind of stuff that makes characters endearing. The book isn't perfect, the art is inconsistent at times, it's probably longer than it needs to be, and it ends kind of abruptly, but overall, this is a solid read. And those of you that remember the Kenner's Aliens toys from the 90s will love this shit. Archie vs. Predator, 2015. Alex DeCampi and Fernando Ruiz. Alright, this is it, the last stop of our tour, and probably the biggest head scratcher of the bunch. It's also one of the best. as long as you have a sense of humor. I've pointed out a few times in this video when creators know the value in presenting the contrast between the dark R-rated violence of the Aliens and Predator films with the more PG or PG-13 licenses they're crossing over with. Well, no book illustrates this more than the very general audience-friendly Archie, an American favorite that dates back to before World War II. Everybody knows Archie, even if you've never read any comics. Betty and Veronica are best friends, but Archie comes between them. Archie's best friend Jughead likes to eat burgers, you know the score. But in case you don't, most of the first issue acts as a straight-faced Archie book, with all the camp that comes with it. Archie and the crew win a tropical vacation, and after a fight with Veronica over a popularity contest, Betty gets lost in the jungle and attracts the attention of a predator who follows them all back to Riverdale to cause mayhem. It's on the third to last page of the first issue where the book's mission statement lies. After 20 pages of campy Archie hijinks, we're treated to this. And in case it wasn't clear what the book has in store, the second issue doesn't waste any time before blowing off someone's head on the second page. And that's what this book is. Basically Itchy and Scratchy, taking wholesome American icons and wallowing in the comedy inherent in butchering them all. It's also full of Predator inside jokes that are sure to make fans chuckle. So what if you 100% don't know anything about Archie? Should you read this? I'd say if you're a Predator fan and you're into comic books, then you should. There's enough funny Predator stuff in it to entertain fans with a sense of humor, and if you're getting into comics, it's a good opportunity to acquaint yourself with an important part of the comic book cultural vocabulary, if you will. Okay, that's it. And I mean literally it. There are no more Alien or Predator things left to do. We did them all. There's nothing left, and even if I wanted to cover more of this stuff, which I don't, we've scraped the bottom of the barrel, and if we keep at this, we're going to be boiling our belts and our shoes. Except, of course, that there's new series coming out like Aliens Defiance, which has been awesome so far, and Aliens Dead Space by James Stokoe that's in March 2017, so more to come. But everyone needs to go on an alien diet until then. Except that Alien Covenant is coming out soon. And then Predator is coming out the year after that. We're never going to escape this. We're all trapped.